Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 family. Follow us on Twitter at CheatersInVRPin. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC. Well, hello, people. We have an intro now.
What was that?
That's fun, and it has a long music bed to talk over. Woo!
Good job, Charlotte.
Thanks. We're getting fancy in here. But as the beautiful new intro said, this is the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. I'm JC, and that over there on the other side of the commentary table, that's Mr. Workrate Tom.
Yeah. I'm just still flabbergasted over this intro. It's just, I feel so fancy now.
I know, it's crazy. It's kind of nice.
We're almost like a legitimate podcast.
We're slowly getting to the professional level, I think.
We're semi-pro now, maybe. I don't know.
If you want to make us more pro, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, all those places. Rate, review, and subscribe also on all those places. And follow us on Twitter at CheatersNVRPin, as the intro said.
I think there's a Facebook Live thing going earlier, too.
Yeah, I just popped on for a minute just to see if anybody had anything they wanted us to bring up during the podcast. And, Tom, I'm going to give you one guess how many viewers it got.
One?
No.
Sorry, I meant to watch. But...
the over-under was at 0. It was 0. That's all right. You got to build that brand, Tom.
We have to. It's just, everything grows from a tiny seed and becomes this large redwood tree that people eventually cut a hole into and drive through. That tree's gone now.
Yes, it is. I saw that. It's crazy.
Welcome to Cheaters Never Evergreen or something. I don't know. This is taking a turn.
Your source for all tree news. Well, anyway, the other news we'll cover on this show today. We're going to talk about The Rock calling CM Punk after Raw. We're going to talk about the Trevor Lee, Cody Rhodes stuff that happened to PWG on Saturday.
Are we allowed to say Cody Rhodes?
Yeah.
Do we have to pay Vince McMahon?
I don't give a shit what Vince wants.
Ooh, we're getting saucy early tonight.
I'm not beholden to Vince McMahon. Let's see what else. We'll talk about the end of SmackDown. We'll talk about the end of Raw. We'll talk about the UK Championship, because that's a belt that still exists.
It's shiny.
And then we got the 10 count, which is 5 things, because it was a slow kind of news week, and I bumped 2 things from the 10 count into the main section of the show.
Yeah, so we may actually get this one over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes. So for the last 20 minutes of your drive, I'm sorry you don't have to listen to me and Tom.
Which, people I'm sure will complain about, but, leave messages in the comments. Or, if you had sent us maybe some questions or something like that, this would have been a great episode to answer your questions.
Yeah, feel free to always send us questions at CheatersNVRPin on Twitter. And no one apparently wants to use my hashtag SmarkOut, even though I thought it was witty and hilarious. But use whatever hashtag you want.
Well, smark's a derogatory term, so. Exactly. That's been an argument, like everything has been an argument on the internet, so.
Right. Before we start the news, right before we started recording, you were gonna tell me an interesting story about you had explained to one of your children the Von Erichs story, and I want to know how that went.
Okay, so WWE 2K17 released through its multi-tiered pay us more money to buy this game technique that 2K Sports does. It released, I believe this is the final little expansion pack that 2K17 has. It's the Hall of Fame pack, which adds on several more wrestlers and these kind of like scenarios. So you get extra wrestlers, you get a few extra arenas, and it's all focused on last year's Hall of Fame because they still don't technically know this year's Hall of Fame, and the game's programmed like 9 months ago. So one of the matchups, since the Freebirds got into the Hall of Fame last year, was the Freebirds, in this case, Michael Hayes and Buddy Jack Roberts. There's no Terry Gordy that got included, which is just weird to me, but whatever. Yeah. The two of them taking on Kerry and Kevin Von Erich. And my soon-to-be 11-year-old, upon seeing this, and it was cool because it was like, they actually kind of have the Sportatorium set up. They've got like the whole world-class championship wrestling, like graphics and that type of thing. And it's weird to see the Sportatorium because they still have the generic like arena type thing. So the Sportatorium, like when you look at the ring, it looks like just the Sportatorium ring and kind of the dirt or whatever it is around the ringside. But it still looks like, there's 15,000 fans in it for whatever reason, which the Dallas Sportatorium held like, on a good day, you might be able to get 1,000 people in there. But I mean, from a ring size, like attendance standpoint, it was pretty much right there with the bingo hall for ECW. It was small, cramped, and nasty, and no air conditioning. But regardless, tangent. So what he likes to do when he sees all these retro wrestlers is, he pretty much asks, well, are they still around or are they dead? Which I go, well, in this case, 2 of these guys are dead and 2 of these guys are still alive. I go, Buddy Jack Roberts died recently, I think in the last couple of years. Yeah. Didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. I think so. Sorry, Buddy Jack. Yeah, because it was just him, and it was just Michael and Garvin at the introduction last year,
right?
Because I think Buddy Jack was almost like a decade older than he was old when he was still actively wrestling. He was like an old school guy. But anyway, so I said, well, he had passed away, and I said, and Kerry's dead. and he just assumes he assumes when I say 80s 90s wrestlers dead, he goes, oh, steroids. I go, no. Okay. No. And then I started to explain the Von Erich family, and I swear I thought I was going to make him cry.
Oh, God.
Well, because I explained, I go, okay, well, Fritz Von Erich had these sons. I go, he had his first son, his name was Jack, and when he was a toddler, he was electrocuted and he died. Mm-hmm. And he looks at me like, that's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, but wait, there's more. So I explained, I go, well, David Von Erich, he got to be a good wrestler. Then he went over in Japan. He died. They're like, well, what happened to him? I'm like, well, we'll never know. Officially, something happened, but probably drugs.
Yeah.
I go, then there was Kerry, and then I explained how Kerry, well, he got into drugs, and then he was pretty hardcore into those drugs. Then he got into a motorcycle accident, and then his brother Mike had surgery and got toxic shock and then I had to explain what toxic shock syndrome is, and I'm like, and then that made his body weaker, so he couldn't really be a wrestler anymore, but he still wanted to be a wrestler, and he ended up killing himself. He's like, oh. I go, then Kerry, having dealt with that and got into drugs more, and then he ended up having his foot pulled off by Colonel De Beers, and I go, and he eventually was going to go to prison for a decently long time because he got busted for drugs again, so he killed himself. He's like, oh. I go, oh, right, and then there was Chris Von Erich, who was too small to wrestle, but he always wanted to wrestle, and depressed him because all of his brothers got to be wrestlers, and his dad pushed so hard for everybody else to be a wrestler, and he wanted to be one, and they basically told him he couldn't be because he was 5'4" and had asthma. So he ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now go outside and play. So
Yikes.
he's like, oh, I go, yeah, wrestling. I go, there's a whole special on WWE Network. We'll watch it sometime.
Oh,
I go,
yeah.
but Kevin's alive, and I give him a lot of credit. So, and we got into this whole philosophical discussion about who do we blame? Do you blame Fritz? Is it his pressure? I mean, for a kid who's not even 11 yet, he was very philosophical about it and kind of going, I don't know if you can do that, and you kind of make your own decisions. And so, yeah.
You gotta buy him that Von Erich family board game that still exists. Just to play that, make
I
him feel
remember
better.
that being advertised in like one of the After Mags or something like that.
Yeah, had to be.
I bought things out of After Mags. I loved I was a former PWI subscriber, so
I pick it up every year when they do the 500.
And once I once had a letter actually published in Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You gotta dig that up. We gotta find that and read it on air.
It's not Markish at all, I swear.
No.
Spoiler,
Never.
it is completely Markish. I'm pretty sure it was about like the Ultimate Warrior being awesome.
Well, it's gotta be Markish. It's in an Aftermag, which is nothing but kayfabe, so it fits right in. That's where it's supposed to be.
It was probably perfect for them. They're like, wow, this is great. We need to publish this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, after that uplifting story.
Hey, after the Owen Hart thing last week, I figured, I have a theme.
Yeah.
This has been Tom's depressing moment.
We should have you read who died this week in professional wrestling every week. That's your bit.
Sadly, that actually seems interesting.
Yeah,
we'll have to workshop that a little bit.
Yeah.
Looking back into history.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what I would call this the top story in wrestling this week, even though it didn't happen on TV. It doesn't involve any active profession or any active wrestlers, but The Rock in the Staples Center Monday night after Raw went off the air, he and his production company filmed the final scene of Fighting With My Family, the movie about Paige and her family based on the documentary. And before it got started, in an effort to amp up the crowd, right before they were getting ready to shoot crowd reaction shots at first, the Rock's walking the crowd through what they're going to do, and he mentions, you're going to see the match between Paige and AJ Lee from the night after WrestleMania. And, of course, at the sheer mention of AJ Lee, 15,000 people in the Staples Center break into a CM Punk chant, to which The Rock... yeah, because that's never going to die. Another chant I'm putting on my needs to die list, but anyway. The Rock in his infinite wisdom goes, all right, well, let's call him.
Don't you want The Rock's cell phone?
Yeah, what numbers are in there? Like, because he's got all the wrestlers, obviously, and then he's got all his Hollywood friends. Like, that's a crazy address book, right? Who am I going to text today? Austin, or am I going to text Zac Efron? Like, what?
And they're in constant, one side's asking about the other side, because you have so many Hollywood types that, actually like wrestling.
Right.
And then you've got, wrestlers who are still, had that desire to kind of get into Hollywood, but, they love stars as much as we do. So it's, once they see Rock, it's just like send him a text like, oh, here you're working on the Baywatch movie. You're going to see, this guy or that guy, or hook me up in the crowd scene. Hogan would have done it, brother.
Hey, Rock. Can you get me in that movie, buddy? Brother. I don't know why I said buddy. Anyway.
Because you're partially Canadian?
Yeah, but yeah, he calls CM Punk. He tells everybody he's going to call CM Punk, holds the phone up to the mic. Of course, they killed the mic. To which, when The Rock pulls it, he goes, you're not going to cut my mic. And of course, they don't again, because he's the freaking Rock.
He just raised an eyebrow, and 17 people got fired.
Yeah. It goes on further. He ends up getting Punk tries to call back, and ends up texting The Rock back, and then tweets about it after the fact. In the least surprising turn, that was incredibly surprising. I don't know why, but it just was. But in the least surprising turn of events here, Vince apparently was none too happy about this.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
I wish I had been more braced for that.
Well, considering they're tangentially involved in litigation with him right now with the doctor, Dr. Chris Amon, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But yeah, they could not have been thrilled about that. Now, the crowd that was in the building, if you see any of the videos from it, wherever you can find them, I think WWE has tried to yank down tons of them. The crowd loved it. I saw it on Periscope Live when it was happening. I loved it because it was incredibly unexpected. But what? I don't understand. Like, it's not on TV. It's not like, what's the issue here? Why can't WWE just accept that Phil is bitter, because he is, and just move on? Like, why do they need to try to make a big deal out of this?
Because it's gonna start the chants going again, and Vince is a proud person, he is, and his ego gets the most of him, and the fact that he's always been a proponent of, I can make you, I can erase you, pretty much. That's why I own your name. So where are you going to go? TNA, no one's going to give a shit about you in TNA. Go to Japan, that's fine. Be good in Japan. No one's going to care about you in America, that type of thing. So when these fans keep bringing up that name, it pisses him off because of the fact that Phil, or Punk, whatever you want to call him, he left on his own terms. He just walked. He was done. That was it. And Vince, was just one of those people's like, oh, you'll come back. You'll always come back. They all come back. And he hasn't. And like years and years later, I think he's still waiting for that phone call for him to come back, and it hasn't happened yet. And it's going to be one of those things that, like, years down the road, either someone's going to swallow their pride, but it's not happening yet. And I think Punk is completely content with just waiting for Vince to make a call, or not. It's not going to be Vince, because Vince isn't going to do it. But
it's not going to be Hunter either.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've seen weirder things happen. And I mean, I've heard the stories about Vince, how people have screwed him over before, and he's just out of nowhere decided, no, it's fine. Some people he's incredibly bitter about, and other people who you'd think he'd be more bitter about or holds a grudge against for a while, suddenly it's just like, I forgot about it. Yeah. I mean, like, the bitterness he had for Medusa / Alundra Blaze, whatever you want to call her, like, that was a whole thing. And then I ended up watching the Table for Three recently that had her, Ivory, who I love, and Molly Holly on it, which is actually one of the better ones. So
it's a
watch
good one.
it. And I mean, just like, between that and seeing whatever it was before, I'd seen some little footage of like her going up to him, I guess at the Hall of Fame type thing, and like her apologizing to him, and he's just like, oh, yo, it's okay, love you, that type of thing. And he's just, he holds serious grudges, but at the, and then he lets them go. So I don't know. But Phil's going to be one, or Punk. I'll call him Punk. I'll try not to be smart that much. Punk's going to be one. I mean, wrestlers always kind of go back. I mean, wrestler retirements don't ever last. So he's one. Wrestlers are always people that, again, they jump, they come back, they leave, they come back. And he seems content. Punk seems content with, I made my money. I'm assuming that he saved a decent amount of it. He got some nice UFC money to get punched in the face once. Like, he's comfortable, and I think he's content with being comfortable, and to the point where he's prepared himself enough, and I guess probably seen enough guys that have screwed over their careers or pissed away their money, that he kind of got to a point where he felt that he had made enough money, invested it or put it away or whatever, and he's like, I'm good. So I'm not going to need to come back because I've got the IRS knocking at my door or something like that. Now, whether or not in 5 years he turns around and, or even 2 years from now gets a, super offer and decides, for $1 million to come back, sure, why not? I don't think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't completely rule that out, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. I never see Punk coming back as a performer to WWE, but everyone comes back eventually. Vince always has the last word, right? We've seen it with Brett. We've seen it with Warrior. We've seen it with Jake. We've seen it with Medusa. How long is it going to take before Punk comes back? Because I'm tempted to think he's Hall of Fame material, being the longest reigning WWE champion in history. When does he come back, though? I mean, we're still at the beginning of the period of him being away. It's going to be a while, but
and by longest reigning champion, you mean the big gold belt version of the championship, right?
Right.
Yeah,
because it's 400 and something days, I think, right?
Because Bruno Sammartino held that for 74 years straight. So,
yeah,
when he beat George Hackenschmidt in 1897. But yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be years.
Commissioner Punk.
Oh God, no! When he comes back purely on a Legends deal. That's it.
With selling ice cream bars?
Oh my God. That's how he doesn't get the video game cover. He gets an ice cream bar as a welcome back present.
That's all he wanted. That's all he ever wanted.
But fortunately, at least the New Day is getting them.
That slow build for that.
Oh God, I can't wait. And it's going to be chocolate ice cream because Vince can't contain himself.
Some booty soft serve.
Oh God, that sounds awful. All right, moving on past that.
I was just gonna drop in a reference to yet another network show, Swerved, where they had New Day and a bunch of kids at this test panel type thing.
Yeah.
So they decided to punk the kids.
The cereal
and they came out with booty juice and I forgot what the other thing was.
Spaghetti, wasn't it, or something?
Booty noodles, maybe, or something like that. Or
yeah.
But just other food products, and they made them taste horrible. And kids are kids, but,
ruining children's lives.
Yeah,
it's great. It isn't the WWE mission statement bringing smiles to people around the world or something like that. They're like, but screw these children.
Oh, but it's interesting to see how some of these kids, they don't want to I know my kids in food, so I just know how how picky they are with stuff. But if it were the New Day in front of them, Lord knows they'd probably eat anything. So
yeah. Well, the other top story from the last week comes out of PWG's event on Saturday night. And no, I'm not talking about the ring breaking after they had to get the backup ring since the original ring burned up in a truck fire.
That happens.
Yeah. During the opening match, I believe, the match that broke the ring, between Trevor Lee and Cody Rhodes, Trevor Lee and from what I can assume, and I'll read Cody's tweets on the matter in a second, without Cody's permission, clearance, without kind of even running it by him, in an effort to get heat, because Trevor Lee is a dirty-ass heel, looks at Cody mid-match and yells, "Fuck Dusty." Now, for anyone that knows anything about Cody and Dusty, they were real tight. Because by the time Cody was born, Dusty was off the road. They hung out and watched football and wrestling and all that together all the time. Those two were incredibly close. So, Cody's been trying to protect the legacy of his father since his death 2 years ago. And did not take too kindly to Trevor Lee's words. So Cody tweeted the following after the match on Saturday in Reseda. He said, "I have one rule when you wrestle me or include me in interviews. I did not mention it to my opponent tonight. I apologize on my behalf for the match in Reseda. 100% accidental. Folks get carried away. Apology accepted. Edited from the film. Thank you for understanding." Wow. I would like to have been in/near the locker room after that happened, because knowing the height Cody carries his father's legacy to and how important it is to him, man, he must have been fucking furious.
Now, I didn't see the match or anything like that, but
you won't for like 3 more months. It's on PWG. It takes them forever to release a damn DVD.
Plus, will it even come out at this point? But now, did they go to quick finish? Did Cody just potato him for the rest of the match?
From what I understand from listening to other people's accounts of the match and the night, and this is from multiple people I heard it from, they couldn't tell a difference in the way Cody acted during the match after that. Apparently the reaction it got in the room was very ooh, I don't know that you want to go there. It didn't get the heel heat like it wanted to. It got more really uncomfortable reaction, which to get an uncomfortable reaction out of the American Legion post in Reseda, California, is a feat in itself. Congratulations, Trevor Lee. But from what I understand, he didn't stiff him or anything the whole match. But yeah, apparently the room was very uncomfortable from that point on.
I guess that's the thing. It's like you get pissed, but at the same time, if you haven't gone over and I guess that's part of the thing too, when you're doing what Cody is doing and just kind of freelancing and hitting all these different things. You're working with people a lot of times, just one shot type deals, or every once in a while, or people that in his case, a lot of his stuff is people he's always wanted to work with, and kind of doing these dream matches or that type of thing. But I mean, when you're coming in to a bunch of people, some of whom have worked with you before, but most of whom haven't. So, I mean, they know you as much as we know, Cody.
Right.
We know the stuff that we know from online and, stuff that we've gotten to know and that type of thing. But it's tough. And a lot of time, I mean, what happens usually when you're a worker, you go into the dressing room and you've never worked with these guys before, generally what's supposed to be done, or at least kind of traditionally, is you go around to the locker room and you go and you shake hands with people, with all the workers and that type of thing. Just let them know, hi, introduce yourself, kind of a friendly type thing or whatever. Now, when you do that and you're going to the guy that you're going to be working with that night and kind of going over the match and that type of thing, maybe you want to mention that, especially if somebody else is going to, going to be going for heel heat to begin with, maybe just kind of mention that thing. If you have one rule, mention the one rule.
Yeah. And I think it probably was a spur of the moment thought by Trevor Lee. And it's one thing, I don't fault him for it at all. especially if Cody's like, shit happens. He apologized. Moving on. I think he just felt that in the moment and went with it. And it was the wrong instinct to have. But, ooh.
And again, I don't know how much of it was around the situation, if there was, like, say, chants going on or something like that. And as a heel, I mean, most of the stuff is improv, especially when you're working the crowd. You just kind of work off of things. And if they're chanting something and you turn around and you kind of work off of that, and again, you work off of what's kind of around you, and it's totally improvisational. My God, I could not say that word. And you're doing a performance, and you kind of lose your head sometimes. And I think it's good that it seems to be cleared up now, or at least on those appearances it is. I mean, I don't know how much of that's still going to linger. I mean, but
right.
Good on Cody for at least, again, not potatoing the guy and, or just deciding to have a crap match because, I mean, Cody's a good enough wrestler that he could easily have made Trevor look bad in the ring.
Right. Well, and Cody's been fighting against this kind of stuff so much anyway. What was it? The segment months ago at this point on Raw, when Bayley had the Bayley bear that was dressed in the polka dots that she gave to Gold Dust, and then the club showed up and ripped the head off of it, and he had a tweet about that. And exploiting his father's legacy is something he has actively fought against.
Doesn't he have the issue with the polka dots too?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's,
which I get too.
Dusty said before he died, he didn't want to be remembered for the polka dots and Thafia and all that stuff anyway, because that was, that was such a small part of his career. His time in WWF was such a small piece. So that's, and of course that's the legacy that WWE is going to paint, because that's, the Vince McMahon created, art, and not the rest of it.
I mean, I give him credit too. I mean, they go back and forth in that. It's like Dusty. It's tough because he didn't necessarily have anything symbolic. I mean, wrestlers aren't going to go out like when he first died, and like wrestlers were looking for something to kind of like have some kind of respectful thing, and then a lot of them went with like a bandana or something like that had the polka dots on it. That's the only symbol you have. You're not going to like take a big kind of red blotch and stick it on your belly.
You're not going to cut your forehead to look like a eviscerated pack of hot dogs.
You're not going to have weird scars on the side of your arm for no particular reason.
Right.
But only so many people can have those cool cowboy boot looking wrestling boots.
Right. And one thing I kept seeing, I think I saw it a couple times on Reddit after this happened. I saw it a couple times on Twitter, were people losing their minds on Joey Ryan too after this, because Joey Ryan and Cody and Joey Ryan are building to a match soon-ish at the Cow Palace. It's a cage match for All Pro. And so Joey's been going around doing like the Stardust gimmick and other indies and stuff, and just tweeting horrible stuff at Cody. Now, not involving Dusty in any of it, but I mean, that's a totally different thing for anyone who may think otherwise. That is clearly a worked program on the internet machine. So, I'm glad
Joey Ryan's done pretty well.
Yeah, but I'm glad it's cleared up. I'm glad it's I think it was a one-off, but yeah, that was kind of a big thing late Saturday night on Twitter.
Yeah, so. I don't think we'd be talking that much about it if it weren't a slow week.
No, it would have. It was in the 10 count originally, but it's talking about the legacy of Dusty and the way that plays into WWE, and their version of history is always important.
He is just a common man.
Jesus. All right, WWE headlines. Harper and Ambrose in again in repainting WWE history, hit the ground at the same time during the Battle Royal. So they face each other next week to be the number one contender for the SmackDown title. Jesus, the WWE Championship. I am very not Harper and Ambrose, Harper and AJ. Why did I write Harper and Ambrose? Jesus.
I went to the interwebs just like, wait a second, I thought it was Harper in it.
I know. As soon as I started saying it out, I almost said, "Boy, I can't wait to see Harper and Ambrose." And I was like, "Yes, I can, but I can't wait to see Harper and AJ." So AJ Styles and Luke Harper eliminated each other. That's going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah. Again, we've discussed Luke Harper and his like seemingly hidden wrestling skills.
Sorry, I'm just
but
gonna do that in the background.
I mean, it's going to be a well worked match, and I did not like the way this whole thing wrapped up, though. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with this, because again, if that's the thing that they're supposedly talking about with AJ still doing this Shane McMahon thing, which please God no.
They continued it more on Talking Smack.
So I'm assuming that's what's going to end up happening, is we're going to have this great match, and then Shane's going to have, I don't know how, because I can't see a Shane run-in happening, because that just, again, there's this issue with, and well, I'll get into this a little bit more with when we go over the Raw headlines, with how faces and heels seem to work. And I cannot stand like the heel being, just regular heel and having a particular match against a face, and then another face goes and does something like completely heelish by, some kind of interference or something like that.
Right.
Without any provocation, I cannot speak today.
Provocation. I got you, bro.
Yeah. But, just go and they run, and that's totally okay. It's like, baby faces aren't supposed to do that. So this isn't the age of Austin. You're not Steve Austin, who like would then turn around and like punch the face in the face as well and give him a stunner and give everybody a stunner, because screw you, I don't like anybody. This is like people that are supposed to be the moral ones going and running in. So I can't see Shane McMahon going in there and screwing over AJ to get Luke Harper in a quote unquote main event match. Which
no, that's
wouldn't
not...
that be screwing over his own brand? I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I'm not sure where they're going. I'm pretty sure I know where they're going. It's going to be a triple threat with Harper, Orton, and Wyatt, which sounds great. I'm fine with that. Because you've got the AJ Shane thing, which is clearly being set up, and that's why I think somehow AJ loses this.
Yeah, he's going to.
And then you've got Randy Orton just tweeting out, or not tweeting out, but putting a picture on Instagram today of Bray standing in front of him with the title on his shoulder and Orton just staring at the title. I'm like, okay, thanks for making it obvious. I mean, it was already obvious, but
He's a viper. You can't trust vipers. They're snakes.
Yeah.
Did Jake Roberts teach you nothing?
Yeah, so that was SmackDown. And then Raw ended with maybe the best big man match I've seen in a very, very long time between Braun Strowman and the Big Show.
This is not your father's Big Show.
No. God, I love him again. He's so svelte.
Okay, maybe it is your father's Big Show. I mean, this is like 96.
This is giant. I think he looks better than he did then. Honestly.
Well, yeah, because he kind of had the weird, like, almost afro thing going there. Yeah, but he had Andre's hair. Because Andre's his father.
Oh, right. That's I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a good match. I enjoyed it. It made both of them look really good. And then it ends with Braun winning, and then Roman Reigns running down I know what you were going to get at, because a face always attacks after a match. And then he gets completely destroyed by Braun Strowman to 15,000 people in the Staples Center chanting, "Thank you, Strowman." Thoughts, Tom?
That actually wasn't what I was going to reference on that, but
that's where I thought you were going.
No, I mean, Braun Strowman's going to be a face pretty much just because he's beating up Roman Reigns at this point. And my God, would they just do the damn turn? Like, it's becoming spite now, because Roman can still sell shirts and he can still appeal to women, and I guess there are children that like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the last house show, the amount of actual Roman Reigns gear that kids were wearing, and that kind of shocked the hell out of me.
We'll see that in a month. But yeah, I honestly think Roman beats Braun, which is awful. But I think it's to build him up for Taker, in which he'll be heel. There's just no way around it.
Because he's literally going to kill The Undertaker.
Oh my God.
Mark Calloway is going to die.
I might not watch that match. I might have to leave the room. I don't know that I can handle it.
Dead man walking.
Dead man wrestling. So yeah, Braun versus Big Show, that was a thing. And then this is oh God almighty, I'm sorry. This is a note I threw on here. Hey, remember the UK Championship? That was fun. It's been defended once on NXT, but at least there was another UK division, or whatever we want to call it, match tonight on NXT with Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews.
Okay. I will get into that in 1 second. I just wanted to back up into Raw.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I did not write the rundown. I did not put a note in there. So the point that I was was alluding to before is Bayley was called out by Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, okay. I know where you're going now.
And Stephanie, being a heel, because for no particular reason except that boo, like there was absolutely no reason for her to be this like total bitch, but she decides, okay, except for the fact that that's, I guess, the Stephanie McMahon character. So, but she comes out and she does the whole spiel on Bayley, saying, basically, what happened. We all know what happened. We saw the replay. And they did the whole thing where Sasha comes out and Charlotte ended up coming out or whatever. And they're like, well, you know what happened. You know the right thing to do. And the drama built, and you looked at Bayley, and Bayley was really thinking about it. Sasha's like, no, don't do it. And I'm watching this. I'm going, this is great. This is absolutely the way that you had to do this. And I was eating it up totally. And they finally turn around and Bayley goes, hell no, I won't give you the belt. And it's like, you just shit the bed.
Mm-hmm.
My God, you just ruined everything. Because everything was so perfectly set up. Like, taking Stephanie out of the equation, like, ideally, I would rather add Stephanie or Mick, whatever. Mick, I don't think was available necessarily, but, have the authority figure come out and go, basically, we all saw what happened, and hand over the belt. And then Sasha comes out, and Sasha's like, no, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. Because Sasha, building the slow heel turn that she's doing, is showing her heel tendencies. So that's fine. But then have Bayley actually feel the guilt, and because she is pure and nice and respects everything, give the belt up. Go, no, this is the right thing to do. It sucks. I'll still be. Don't pull this screw you, I won it by a shortcut, I don't care, whatever, you can't. And when that happened, I fully expected Stephanie to just turn around and go, well, we don't care if you're keeping it or not because I'm overturning it. Or at least to have Bayley.
I expected it to be another Charlotte and her lawyers moment.
Right. Yeah, or at least do that, have that happen. But it was just like it was built so well, and Lance Storm tweeted it like at the same time that I was thinking it, just like that is not how a babyface is supposed to, like her, is supposed to react.
No. It felt odd. And it was.
Because she's supposed to be the one doing everything right, and no, you didn't. You took the shortcut.
Yeah.
And it would have built everything back. It would have put the belt back on Charlotte and still allowed this build for WrestleMania, to have Bayley have her WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania. But no, now we're going to have Bayley defend the belt against Charlotte at Fastlane, where Charlotte will take it back, and then we're going to have to go through the thing again. Now, is that the reason that they had to do this and have her keep the belt so that she could drop it at Fastlane?
Yes.
Like,
just hot potato. Yeah, and you know how much I love Charlotte. I love Charlotte as champion, but I'm like, just if you were gonna do it, just leave the belt on her. This is so dumb. It's not helping anyone. It's not building Bayley at all. It's not building Sasha, who's just there in the division yet again. It's not building it's awful.
Charlotte's gonna beat like Flair's record before Cena does.
Oh, she's gonna beat it by SummerSlam. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay.
They're building her completely wrong like this. She worked best. Look at the entire feud she had with Sasha in NXT. Where it's, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Oh, I beat you. Oh, I beat you. Oh, I beat you. Well, then she gets her comeuppance on the big stage. The end. That's how Bayley needs to be booked. Her character is so simple. And that's why it works so well. And that's how all professional wrestling should be. It's crazy. They're trying to overcomplicate all this stuff and add all this extra drama to it, when the drama itself lies within the sport and it lies within the competition in the ring. We don't need all this. And it goes back to having authority figures still in this day and age in general, which I'm sure you and I could probably do an entire podcast on its own as a topic. But just let the action in the ring tell the story. Let her fight and cut a promo and lose, and fight and cut a promo and lose, and then finally have her moment.
I think it's a thing of now it's just like you could have had, I mean, because I look at these secondary cards like Fastlane as like how Crockett would do the Clash of the Champions type stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what they were meant to be. But see, and going back, looking at the network now, $9.99 a month, because now I've plugged it 3 times in the show. If you look at old clashes, like the title matches that are in there are the most random freaking title matches ever. Like, you know, like Brad Armstrong's challenging for the U.S. title, because sure, why not? You know,
right.
Like Arn Anderson's defending the TV title against like Dennis Condrey for some reason. Like, oh, okay, you know, like they just, and like they're having half these like title matches are being set up, and you're looking at like the title match going into it, and you know there's no way in hell that, you know, that particular like Flair, well, usually they'd have a halfway decent Flair match, but like say Barry Windham's taking on like Ding Dong number 2, you know he's not going to lose Ding Dong number 2.
Right.
But you needed to have him out there, and to have, and you have like say 2 or 3 big matches which you're pushing, and the rest of them are fodder. And I guess it's because too that like in the Crockett days, you had like 17 belts to defend. You had the TV title, the Western States Heritage title, the National Championship, the U.S. Championship, through various things. They had like the Mid-Atlantic title, the Florida. Yeah. It's what happens when you start dealing with territories. But the U.S. tag titles, the world tag titles, the world six-man tag title, which was technically a trophy and not actual belts. Yeah. Crockett was fun. But that's another podcast. But yeah, I mean, so what ends up happening is you end up having like, okay, well, Charlotte is feuding with Bayley, so we have to have Charlotte versus Bayley at each pay-per-view type event that we have for the next like few months until it's technically blown off. Then we go to the next one. Like, just have Charlotte defend it. Well, I mean, Bayley's got the title now, but have Charlotte defend it. Like, she turns around, and because she's maybe potentially ducking Bayley, or we're building to it or whatever, you know, oh no, the number one contender, I'm sorry, the number one contender is Alicia Fox. You know, or, oh, the number one contender, that's, you know, it's Rachel Ellering. I didn't know what you're talking about, you know, and just make it seem like that, you know, Charlotte just happens to be ducking these people, you know, and that's what Rick did for the longest time. It's Ric Flair would come on TV and be like, oh, I'm going to defend my title because I haven't defended it in 30 days and I need to defend it against 30 days. And it's like, I'm going to defend it against Denny Brown. And yeah, I'm dropping way too many Crockett references. Please stop me.
Okay. It's all way overthought is what we're getting at. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's all they need to do. UK Championship. That's a thing, and I miss it, is what I was saying. And I want it to come back.
Mustaches.
I like those guys too much to see them under contract and then therefore not being able to see them. Anyway,
there wasn't enough thought put into it. I don't think they signed people because they wanted to have a tournament, and that was a great thought. I mean, the tournament was extremely well done.
And the only reason they wanted to do it, and they keep saying they didn't move the time frame up because of World of Sport, but they did.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious because you had, and I'm sure, you know, it was being planned. I'm sure the UK brand or whatever you're going to call it's been being planned, but the tournament should have been closer to the start date for the actual brand.
Yeah, because you don't have a product right now. You had the tournament, and it was a great tournament. You had these people, and like at this point now, 80% of the people are not going to be remembered. The thing with 205 Live was that when you had the Cruiserweight tournament, you went through and you had 205 Live launch relatively close to, you know, the Cruiserweight tournament being over. You had Perkins came out for a couple of weeks or whatever, and it was like, oh yeah, we're going to have the show. It's like, great. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to be forgotten.
They're going to start from scratch. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, let's move on to the 10 count, which is 5 items. So I could have called it 5 count because that's also a thing in wrestling.
Well, thankfully we're not in Japan. Otherwise we'd need 20.
Oh, God. All right, number 1, DDP's in the Hall of Fame. Hallelujah. Bang.
Good God.
That's
another thing about the Hall of Fame pack. There is you have, I think it's 1992 DDP.
Awesome.
Which has his like good God theme, and like he's teaming with like 92 Cactus Jack against, oh God, I can't remember the people that they're actually, the Jimmy Jam, Michael Hayes.
Freebirds, yeah.
Clad in leather Freebirds.
Oh, God.
Bad Street was not there.
Yeah. Anyway, one question. Who inducts him? I hope it's Jake.
There could be like 17 people.
Pick one.
I said that on Twitter before. Like, DDP's like speech is going to be 45 minutes long, and it's going to be perfectly fine because everyone's going to listen. Because the man, his story is such an awesome story. That's a movie. I'm sorry.
If he doesn't do his acceptance while doing DDP yoga, I will be upset.
And yeah, I think, I mean, I know it's probably a toss up to him because I'm sure he gets to make that choice and he doesn't want to leave anybody out necessarily. I'm sure between Jake and Scott Hall, he's kind of torn, but I think, Jake tells a better story. So,
yeah. Number 2, it's been announced Zack Sabre Jr. will debut in New Japan versus Shibata, their 45th anniversary show on March 6th. That sounds like fun.
What shocked me was that Zack Sabre Jr. has not wrestled for New Japan. I just assumed he had.
Nope. Also on that card, as a side note, is Okada versus Tiger Mask W, which is Kota Ibushi. Give me that. Give me that now. Number 3, the New Day are the official hosts for WrestleMania 33 because they couldn't find a match for them. Because they don't know how to book the tag division.
I don't know what host means.
They'll do one segment announcing attendance at the end.
But
yeah, it's a waste. That's a real smart place to put your top merch sellers. Yeah, don't give them a match or anything. But they'll be out in the community. They'll be the face of WrestleMania in marketing and stuff. I'm sure is what. This means. That's genius.
They're going to be on every show doing New Day things, and I mean it's great for them. And they are. They're good ambassadors.
Oh yeah. I think it's a huge injustice for them not to have a match, though. Sorry.
You just want to see the giant box bootios again.
I want them to bring out the booty van that they were talking about in the WWE 24 about last year's WrestleMania. The van and the flaming trombones and all that. Oh, I want that. Number 4, What Culture Pro Wrestling has begun announcing the qualifying brackets for the Pro Wrestling World Cup, which is a 64-man tournament. They announced the brackets for the British qualifier today. So find it. It looks like it's going to be a really good tournament.
All in one night?
No. They're doing all the qualifying.
People would die.
Yeah. I think they're getting it down to 8 through qualifying rounds. And then they'll do the actual tournament.
I want to see them do a 64-man tournament. First round matches are just 47 seconds long.
Yeah, but it's like Jimmy Havoc and Ospreay and a lot of other people, and I just blanked on them all. Anyway, it'll be good. I'm excited for it.
That's okay. No one listening knows what progress is anyway, including me.
Oh, well, we got to get there. I'm behind. I got to catch up. Number 5, Naomi has relinquished the women's title due to injury on SmackDown, and Alexa Bliss won the belt in a match against Becky on Tuesday.
So her knee injury, because they mentioned the 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is.
Oh, that rule that just sometimes randomly pops up unless your name is Brock Lesnar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that she royally screwed up her knee, almost Rollins-like, maybe. I mean, well,
that's exactly
Rollins-like. Cause
I understand that it's an MCL injury, so
it can't be that bad. I mean, because she was able to walk on it. Because when you blow out your knee as bad as Rollins did, you're not walking on it. So I'm assuming it happened in the title match.
Yeah, from what I understand, it happened in the title match. It was an MCL injury similar to what Rollins recently sustained. So if you put that a month, if you put that a month later, it is the same, and that would put her out for Mania. It would make her very questionable, so it's safer for them for planning Mania to take the belt off of her and bring her back after.
Yeah, which really sucks for her.
It does. I was real happy for her, even though I was pretty sure she was giving that belt back up in Orlando. But she could still be there, which is, that's probably worse emotionally for her. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
put her with the New Day, make her a co-host.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. I mean, because again, she's good with media. I don't want to do the whole Chris Rock routine of she speaks so well, but
she's great. She's great on Total Divas.
There are certain people that you can put on camera with traditional media, and they work
shine.
well.
Yep.
And there are other people that they can cut a promo, but you put them in front of actual real human beings in a regular situation, and they don't know how to talk. And
right.
The four of them are great. I mean, they're going to be the people that a lot of times they're the ones that, like Vince and company, are putting out there in the first place to go, okay, we need to plug this, or we need to, do this particular ribbon cutting or whatever. We need a couple people there. You're good talking to people. You're good at talking to people. Come on out. And yeah, Naomi will be one of those people. And again, it sucks that it looks like she won't make it for Mania.
No.
But it's possible, I guess. But
right,
you can't have the belt on her right now.
No, it's too much of a risk going into the Mania. All right, Tom. Remember we said we're going to keep this short. Yeah, it's been an hour and a minute. So tell the people where they can find you online.
Look for me online at Mr. Workrate, MR Workrate. That's on Twitter. Do not find me on Facebook because I only share pictures of my kids on there, and no one wants to see that. You can look for me on Instagram, where I occasionally upload pictures, but I don't really pay attention to those things. And all the other stuff, I'm just like, just Twitter. You should figure this out by now.
There you go. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at JCBobbitt, JCBobbitt. Wow, God, I just slurred the hell out of that. At JCBobbitt.
I'm sorry,
there we go.
Did Derek just end the show?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so find me on all those. You can find the show on Twitter at CheatersInVRPin. We're also on Facebook, Cheaters Never Pin. And also find us and download us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn. I think we'll be on iHeartRadio in the next couple of days as well. Rate, review, and subscribe. That's always appreciated to help us get a little more visibility. Also, very, very shortly, cheatersneverpin.com will be up and running. It's already there. You can go there. We should start writing articles for it. Tom, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
And when you go to that website, there's a big button on the right-hand side that says Become a Patron. Now, none of those tiers relate to this show and this brand of Section 328 yet. I got to have a talk with Mike and Derek about that. But we gotta do something for our people, Tom.
Yeah, do we need to come to your house? Because we won't. But it depends.
I will break in and steal the money from your damn house. Anyway,
we'll fall off a ladder for you.
Yeah. So support the network. Support Section 328 over on Patreon. And I think that does it for us. So for myself and for Tom, this has been Cheaters Never Pin. Have a wonderful week of wrestling.
Bye now.